consistent, I move with the clock. I'm in the zone, I'm not casting a stone. I'm finna stand on a rock, firm foundation. I got that dog in me, like 101 Dalmatian. I got girl with me, so I know that I'm still finna make it. I'm still finna take it. I hopped in the ring and I'm still going crazy. I cut off this sin like I just got a taper. I walk in the storm and then God gave me favor. I'm still going forward. I just had the luck in the Lord. I knew that I'm finna make it. Doing my old self, he got deported. Shout out to the king and I'm finna take it.
Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the SchuZ Show. This is the first episode of this week, and as I mentioned on a post a little bit ago, Jayden Nunn will be joining us in a couple minutes, but just want to intro the show in today. We will have an interview with Jayden Nunn coming up in a little bit. Also, we're going to have a lot of different topics to get into: NBA, NFL, college basketball, college football stuff to talk about. But before we go any further, I want to make sure we start off with the verse of the day today, which is John chapter 8, verse 12, which reads, "When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, 'I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life.'" So that will be today's verse of the day. But as I mentioned, we're going to get into a Jayden Nunn interview in just a few minutes. So I'll go on a quick break, and then we'll get him added in here, and we'll start the interview right after that. We'll see you guys in a couple minutes. God bless. If you were to have the ball in your hands the whole game, you're the guy for a whole season, 82-game season, how much do you think you're averaging?
Staying consistent, I move with the clock. I'm in the zone, I'm not casting a stone. I'm finna stand on a rock, firm foundation. I got that dog in me, like 101 Dalmatian. I got girl with me, so I know that I'm still finna make it. I'm still finna take it. I hopped in the ring and I'm still going crazy. I cut off this sin like I just got a taper. I walk in the storm and then God gave me favor. I'm still going forward. I just had the luck in the I got that dog in me, like 101 Dalmatian. I got girl with me, so I know that I'm still finna make it. I'm still finna take it. I hopped in the ring and I'm still going crazy. I cut off this sin like I just got a taper. I walk in the storm and then God gave me favor. I'm still going forward. I just had the luck in the Lord. I knew that I'm finna make it. Doing my old self, he got deported. Shout out to the king and I'm finna take it. Shout out to the king and I'm finna take it.
Welcome back, everyone. As I mentioned, we're going to get right into the interview with Jayden Nunn now. He's one of the top incoming transfers to this Baylor squad, and he's had a heck of a career so far, the collegiate ranks, playing at VCU. And as he heads out now to Baylor, he's expected to be one of the top guys in the entire Big 12, one of the newcomers in all the Big 12. And so with that being said, I'm excited to be able to welcome on Jayden Nunn. Jayden, appreciate you taking time to come on today, man.
No problem. Appreciate you for having me here, man.
Absolutely, man. So you've had a lot of different big decisions recently. Obviously, you had a huge one announcing you're coming out to Baylor now. But one I do want to make sure we get into is talking about a big decision you recently made by deciding to get baptized. And I just want to show the picture right now. I'm not sure if you can see it. So take us to that, because as a believer, man, I know that that's even a bigger overall decision than even making a decision for college. That's an eternal decision for yourself. So just walk us through that a little bit. What made you decide to say, you know what, now is the time that I want to go and get baptized?
Really, last year when I was at BCU, like I wanted to get baptized, and then my teammate Ace Baldwin had got baptized. So then, him, and some of my teammates started going to church out there at BCU. Got comfortable, going to church and meeting the pastor out there. So it was just like being good, just being involved and surrounded by good people that just, got baptized. So I feel like it motivated me to, want to do it even more. So then when I first got here in June, I didn't know any churches and stuff, so
Yeah.
I comfortable and I told the pastor, pastors come to practice and stuff, and when our coaches told him like I wanted to get baptized in like June. So
Mm.
we started going to church. I got comfortable going to church and stuff, and then I think I went to church one more time, and I was like, we was talking, we went out to eat after church, and then I said I wanted to get baptized again. And he was like, yeah, we need to get it done. So then me and Langston had got baptized that very next weekend on Saturday.
So I know, like you mentioned, obviously, a shout out to Langston as well for making that big decision. Was that something that you guys kind of talked about and said, let's do this together? Did it just happen to come together and you're like, okay, I guess we're both getting baptized this weekend? Or how did that all come together for you guys?
It just like happened because like we was talking about it. We was talking to our pastor, and I already had told my pastor I wanted to get baptized. So then I said it again.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when Langston was like, "Yeah, I want to get baptized too."
Mm.
We just did it at the same time. It was like, "Yeah, bet we're just gonna do it at the same time."
Now, for those that aren't believers, obviously, when you get baptized, it's more just an outward expression of your belief because, as you kind of already alluded to, you already were a believer. You already believed and wanted to follow Jesus before you got baptized. That was just kind of
Right,
the making it known to the world publicly.
right.
When would you say that actually happened, though, for you personally? Like that actual personal relationship with Jesus started to form for yourself?
Really, it really started with just like I was just like when I was praying and stuff. It just like certain things used to happen, but
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't a coincidence. Like it ain't nobody but like him. Like I know it because I used to pray for it or stuff for like answers or signs and stuff used to happen. That's
Mm-hmm.
crazy, like, cause I know it ain't nobody but him that's showing me this stuff. Cause I was
Mm-hmm.
just praying about it, so it was just like, yeah, I believe him, for sure.
Now, I first got to start knowing you was when you came out to Arizona. You obviously went to a Christian school at Dream City Christian. How big of an impact was that in your walk with God? Did that help a lot? Did that kind of just help take the next steps with you? Or when did you really start forming that relationship with God?
Um, I say like I always went to church when I was young and stuff. When I
Okay.
was in the city, they had us. We went to church out there and everything. So we used to have to go to church every Sunday, Thursdays, and stuff like that. They had a church on campus. So like I'll say I've been a believer, like I've been like following God, but I feel like when I got older and more mature, I feel like I just wanted to express it and be known because I got baptized when I was younger, but I don't remember because
Yeah.
I want to just get the feeling and know that feeling again, how it feels to be baptized.
Where would you say has been the biggest moment that you've seen God show up in your life so far?
It showed up a lot. I ain't gonna lie. This
Hmm.
most recently, most recently was my decision, like my college decisions, and coming here to Baylor, going to VCU when I was in high school,
Yeah.
entering the transfer portal. Like I didn't want to, but just showing me signs and constantly, like all the time. So it's really
Hmm.
just like a name. It's like numerous, way more than like 10 for sure.
So you have had a platform that's continued to grow. Obviously, going from a high school guy that wasn't necessarily one of the top ranked recruits coming out. We'll get into that in a little bit, but you still had a platform. Then you go to college and you become a starter at VCU, a guy that's becoming more and more well known. You now get the next step where you're going to the Big 12, the best basketball conference in the country, playing at a team that has a chance to win a national championship every year while they're in that program. As you have this platform, how do you look to be able to continue to be the light and help others get to know God and follow Jesus?
Um, I really just like want to show my faith and my believer. I'm a believer off the court, on the court. Just by
Hmm.
praying, just giving him all the glory. For everything that good happened in my life. I just try to show appreciation to God. Outwardly on social media and everything, or on my Twitter, I always try to promote God and just show how much I appreciate Him.
So let's get a little bit into your other decision you made just a few months ago, and that was coming to Baylor. And kind of at the same time, sticking with the relationship with Jesus aspect, you're going to a program where the head coach is well known as being a strong believer. He's one of the guys that isn't just a believer, but is one that's also very outspoken. He uses his platform to glorify God. And I know that just talking to a lot of guys, he talks about his relationship with Jesus a lot and helps guys through their walks with Jesus as well. How big of an impact would you say that had on your recruiting process going to Baylor?
I say it had a very big impact on me and my family, because my family, I got a great support system, and I feel like, they're true believers, and they take the like church and God very seriously. So that
Mm.
played a big role in my decision. They influenced me a lot in going to Baylor. So when I came on my when I came on my visit to Baylor, it was just like Scott Drew is just like great energy. He talks about God a lot. It shows
Mhm.
appreciation and all the time. So he's just a great coach. Not even a great coach. He's just a great human being overall. Like just love to be around him.
So what's your guys' relationship been like so far? Because I guess you guys had a little bit of games when you had the 4-2 or whatnot, but I mean you haven't got to go out and play real games yet. But just going through practices, talking with him, what's your guys' relationship like, and what's it like just being around Coach Drew?
Um, our relationship has grown a lot. I feel like I just got out of practice about like 30 minutes ago. So he
Hmm.
challenges me every day to something new, just something to get better at. He always looking to challenge me, or he always trying to make me just become a better man on and off the court. So I appreciate him for that, just being able to challenge me every day. So yeah.
So in the past few months, how would you say you've seen your guys' relationship grow? Because I'm sure when you guys first entered the portal, just going to get to know him, build a little bit of relationship there. To now at this point today, how much would you say you guys' relationship has grown, and where would you say is the biggest areas that you guys' relationship has grown in?
I feel like we grown like tremendously. Like I trust him now. We built a lot of trust. I not only trust him, I trust all the coaching staff. This whole
Hmm.
staff at Baylor, is just great. They nice, they're polite, they always talk with respect. They're there when I need them. So I feel like we've grown a lot. I love this coaching staff. With all my heart, I really mean it for real.
Well, let's go through this recruiting process a little bit because you enter the portal, and that's after Coach Rhodes decided to take the job at Penn State. And so a lot of you guys obviously evaluate decisions, what's next for you guys in your journeys. And you being a guy that has already had a great career so far in your first couple of seasons out there at VCU, you get a lot of attention. You get offers and opportunities to go to schools like Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, Penn State. I believe those were other schools in the finals, at least alongside Baylor. What was this recruiting process like for yourself? Because I know it was a lot different than the past one going out of high school. So
It
what
was,
was this past one like?
this past one was probably the most hard. Like it was probably the most hard. Like I had so many visits. I really
Mhm.
Like I just like wanted to go on visits that I wanted to go to schools that I pictured myself going to. I didn't even want to waste any school's time, so I had to turn down some schools. But I
Yeah.
wanted schools that I picture myself going to, and playing at. So I looked at their style of play and everything. But this probably one of the most hardest decisions of my life. It was just stressful, up all night thinking about it. But I really had to pray about it. So that's what really
Mhm.
helped me the most, just praying about it, because I couldn't make this decision on my own for sure.
Was it at all shocking to you because when you came out of high school, you were a guy, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, that you had offers, you were a guy that was ranked to some extent, but it wasn't necessarily this guy that every school in the country wanted like it was this past time around. So was it at all shocking to you just to see how much the recruiting process has changed in just about a 2-year span for you?
Yeah, it was shocking, but it just showing like the hard work paying off, But it was shocking for sure. It was shocking, but it was just I'm just great. I'm just happy, to be where I'm at today, and I'm glad that I made a decision that I did make.
So who did it really come down to for yourself? Because when you look at these schools, all of them are great programs. Two of the ones would have kept you also in the Big 12. Penn State, you would have been able to be coached by your former coach and Coach Rhodes out there. Then obviously LSU is a great program as well. But who did it come down to? Because Baylor's obviously the winner here. But was there a number two option for yourself, or who was kind of that final running?
Baylor, Texas, Alabama, and Penn State.
Hmm.
So yeah, them were like I had a visit schedule. Like I didn't schedule it yet because I went to Baylor. Then right after Baylor, we drove. Texas came and got us and took us to Austin. And I was supposed to go to Alabama right after, but I just was like, I can't do it no more. Like it's gonna make the decision way more harder. So I just like
Hmm.
I said I'm straight. Like I ain't gonna go on a visit.
So what was it about Baylor? What was it that Coach Drew and this program kind of attached onto, and kind of said, okay, this is where I think God wants me to be playing my college basketball at?
I'd say like just the coaching staff, and I feel like just the city, like the environment. Austin, a great city. I feel like
Hmm.
it's easy to get distracted. Waco is more of like a calm city. Nobody really
Sure.
knows. So really just focus on basketball, and I feel like they take basketball and sports very seriously. Texas does as well, but I feel like I could just focus more here, and just
Mhm.
focus on the main goal, which is to play basketball in school.
When you talk about Coach Rhodes, he's a guy that, and we'll get into your high school recruiting in a second too, that he obviously was your coach for the past 2 years, gave you that opportunity to go out there and play. And he's obviously a great coach, and he's going to probably do great things out there, I think, at Penn State. Was it tough at all to kind of say, you know what, I think I'm going to take this next journey and say, you know what, I think I'm going to go with Coach Drew this time around?
It was tough. I built a good relationship with all the coaching staff at VCU. Coach Rose, Coach Bryant, Coach
Hmm.
Big B, like everybody. I love them all. So it was really a hard decision in leaving them, but I appreciate them for even being there when I told them, I made the decision on going to Baylor. So I just appreciate them just for being there and, just helping me. and they still, still keep in contact with my coaches at Baylor to this day, just asking about, make sure I'm okay. So I appreciate them for real.
So we want to go into that high school journey a little bit for yourself because you originally are, for starting off, you're originally out there from Michigan, and you
Yeah.
guys have a unique brand of basketball out there. Obviously, it's got a lot of talent historically, currently, of guys that come out from there have had great NBA careers. We're talking about Hall of Famers. We're talking about some of the all-time great players. And it's a unique area because not a lot of people, I don't think, give Michigan the respect that they deserve. Because we talk about the New Yorks, we talk about the Californias, the Floridas, and the Texases. They've got a lot of Hall of Famers and great players as well, especially for a state not being as large as those other ones. So just growing up out there, what was the basketball culture like?
I feel like it was very tough, very gritty. So I feel like that just like made me, better as a player on and off the court for sure. So I just feel like I just became more tougher, just playing with, guys in Michigan from Flint, Detroit, all around.
Mm-hmm.
So they got great players, Grand Rapids, Saginaw, they got great players all around for sure.
So within your family lines, your dad is also an athlete. He played in a high school that had Glenn Rice, obviously once again one of those great players. You have NFL players, you have other NBA players. I mean, the list goes on, just great talents there. When you talk about your dad and the impact he's had on your life, what does he kind of help guide you in the game in terms of basketball?
I feel like he just give me a lot of wisdom. Give me a lot of knowledge because he been through it, so he knows better than I know for sure. So he's just always been there in every decision that I have made, basketball or not. Just being a dad in general. I appreciate him for that for sure. So he just always been there for me.
And so when you come out to Arizona, then you go to Dream City Christian. And when you headed out of high school, like I mentioned a couple of times now, you weren't necessarily the highest ranked recruit. But at that point in time, did you know that you had a chance to be a guy that probably should have been a top 100 player? Is that the kind of confidence you had and belief you had, or did that more so come the past couple of years for yourself?
I feel like I knew I was, but it's just like political. So
Hmm.
I feel like I knew I was at heart, but it's just like I feel like top 100 is more of like political thing and stuff like that. So I really didn't try to like when I seen stuff like on social media or I went at top 100. I really didn't like try to like get mad or nothing. It's not nothing to get mad about because some of the players, most of the players on the list, you better than you can't really do nothing about it because they have more publicity than you. So really just try.
Sure.
So it's just just play basketball at the end of the day.
The crazy thing about you is that we're not just talking about a guy that's going to be a great college player. We look at some of the mock drafts. I know it's early and it's hard to kind of look at those for yourself because I know you're focusing on the season, but we're talking about a guy that has a chance of playing in the NBA in the next couple of seasons, getting drafted. Is that at all shocking to you to see how much you've grown, or is that even to yourself something that you always kind of pictured and said, I truly believe that there's going to be a day where I know I can play at the college level at a high level, but I think I can also play and make money off this game someday as well.
Yeah, for sure. I believe it for sure. I work every day. Like I want it bad. So it
Hmm.
just it has to come like eventually because I work for it. I really grinded for this, so it got to come eventually. So I know it is. So I got faith. So that guy got me. He lead the way. So yeah.
All right, so let's go into your high school recruitment because that was a little wild as well because you originally go to Iowa State, all sounded good, all was working out well, and then coach gets fired out there. And so you're in that weird situation that we see happen a few different times each college season at the end of it. And you're in this tough spot because in the transfer portal era, when it comes time in that second part of the season, when it's off season, a lot of coaches are primarily looking at the guys that's going to be in the portal because they're the older, more experienced guys. And so you kind of get put in this tough situation. How did you deal with all that?
It was hard. I got turned down by some schools too, like schools I wanted to go to back in high school because they chose like transfer guys over me and stuff because I was young. So I couldn't get mad at them because as a coach I would too. Choosing a
Yeah.
player that experience. So, but it was just like I just wanted to go to a school that not only I wanted to go to, but I feel like they wanted me. So
Mhm.
I feel like I chose VC. I feel like they wanted me. So I went to a school that wanted me the most. So that's why I feel like helped my decision out of high school for sure.
When coach originally got fired, what was your first reaction?
It was shocking. It was shocking. It was.
Mm.
I was mad. Coach Crum is a good coach. William Smalls, the assistant coach that was there, he is a good coach as well. So I was just mad because you got to go through the recruiter process all over again. So I didn't want to because I had a good connection with Iowa State. Monte Morris, we close and we talked. Man, he helped me get to Iowa State too for sure because we both from the same city. So
So when coach TJ comes in, and he's obviously a great coach and whatnot. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he didn't even contact to reach out to you, and that's when officially you decide to make a decision, say, I'm going to reopen my recruiting process, and all that ends up unfolding. What was your thoughts when that happened? Like, were you expecting Iowa State to at least reach out to you, to have a relationship with you, to try to get you to come back there? Or how did that all go down?
Yeah, I wanted them. I wanted them to for sure. But I wanted them to reach out because I wanted to go to that school bad. But
Mm.
I feel like it's just like all our guys playing. So I was mad. But as I look back, I'm older. So, but I was mad at the time. As I look back, I was older. I just appreciate God just for putting me through stuff, in life. So he just helped a lot. So yeah.
All right, we look at the potential schedule for you guys, though. We know that Iowa State's going to come up twice this season. Is there going to be any extra little bit of motivation when you get out there, or what's that going to be like when you get to go play Iowa State?
Yeah, it is. It
Mm-hmm.
is a little like extra little fire. I want to play them. So it's a couple schools on that on our schedule that I'm just ready to play for sure. So I got something personal against. So yeah.
All right, so who's on the top of that list? And if you go pick out your top 1, 2, maybe even 3 schools you want to go play this year, who are they?
It's probably like 4 right now that I'm knowing. MSU, Iowa State, Duke, and I say Texas.
You said MSU. I'm guessing that's because that would have been the hometown team for yourself there. What would that be like for yourself to be able to play your old hometown team?
It's gonna be good. We actually played them in Michigan too, so
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a fun game. They got a great team. They
Yeah.
got all the respect, so I feel like it's gonna be a great game. They got a lot of experienced guys. They're a great team, so it's gonna be fun playing them for sure.
All right, so when you're talking about going and end up going to VCU, who else was in the mix for you? Was it just pretty much VCU was the one that just stood out above everyone else, or was there a couple other schools that are kind of in the running for yourself then?
Um, it was VCU, Pitt, Arizona State, and it was LSU. But it was really out of Arizona State and VCU.
All right, so let's get into those couple of seasons because you go to VCU and Coach Rhodes is a great coach. VCU is a historic program, very good and accomplished program as well. And you do something that hasn't been done by too many freshmen before. You're only the third true freshman to start the season opener and start the pretty much the entire season since 2009. What did that mean to you to be able to go into a team where you guys were competitive, great roster right out the gate, and you're going to be a starter playing legitimate, contributable minutes?
It was hard because it's hard to lead and play with guys that are older than you. So it was just hard just because I was like the one of the guards on the team, so I was like I had to be like a leader, but it was hard. It's hard leading guys older than you. So yeah, it was fun though. It was fun, and it was a great experience. I feel like it helped me mature, on the court as well. Just playing with older guys for sure. So it was very fun. We had a great schedule. We played Baylor that year too. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
If Coach Rhodes was still the head coach at VCU, do you think you would still be there, or do you think you still would have entered the transfer portal?
I'm not gonna lie. I probably would have stayed. I ain't gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I was very comfortable at VCU, like Coach Rose and all of my teammates. Like I didn't even look at them like teammates. Like we had a great friendship, brotherhood, and coaching staff was good. So I feel like I probably would have stayed. I ain't gonna lie.
I mean, you guys would have had a nice squad out there too, because likely if everyone would have stayed, you guys would have had Ace return, yourself, that would have been one of the top backcourts in the country again, Jalen and Deloach and so on, Nick, all those guys. How good do you think that team could have been if you guys all stick together one more year at least?
Like that team would have been crazy. Like that team would have been very good. We all was getting older and we was getting better as the year progressed. So I feel like we was just gonna be very good for sure. We was gonna beat a lot of teams.
All right, so we do got to get into one thing that you guys recently just got back from. That's a foreign tour. You guys got to go out there to France. First of all,
Yeah.
I got to ask, I have to imagine that was probably your first time out there, right?
In France, yeah.
So what was the whole experience like?
It was fun. It was fun. I feel like it was a great time, to build, team chemistry because we
Mm-hmm.
we spent a lot of time with each other. I got to learn a lot of stuff about my teammates that I didn't know about. Just build a relationship with them. So I feel like that helped our team chemistry a lot. It was fun. It was a great experience. Not only playing basketball, but just being able to go to France. Not everybody go to France, so it was fun.
What would you say is your biggest takeaway from that trip?
My biggest takeaway from that trip. Mm, communication. We did a good like I seen a lot of guys, talking and stuff like that. Like I thought they were quiet. I thought my team was quiet. Or when we got to know each other and stuff, we got to communicating a lot, talking a lot, texting and everything. So I feel like we just became closer as a team. So it was very good.
I have to imagine that a lot of the guys, I mean, it's a whole new team. You guys got tons of new guys coming in, rather it be incoming freshmen, transfers. Obviously, guys moved out, so you guys have a few returners and whatnot. How do you guys build this team together, though? Because it has to be a little bit chaotic just having so many new personalities and guys and characters coming into a group. What's that been like trying to just build that relationship with them?
I feel like it haven't even been hard. Like it's
Mm.
been good. Like this team, our team is like very good. So
And so when you talk about your out there on that trip, what would you say is your favorite memory from the trip out there in France?
favorite memory, the jet skiing. We went jet skiing and everything. It was crazy. It was crazy.
And so you get to be around these coaches and all of them. What are they all like off the court? Like the whole culture. I feel like Alvin Brooks and Coach Drew and the whole coaching staff. It's a lot of fun personalities there. What's
Yeah.
it just like being around all those guys off the court?
I ain't a lot of guys crazy. Like Coach Jake is like when we was out in France, they was riding scooters late at night. They really big kids for real. Coach Drew jet skiing in the ocean and swimming and stuff on scooters as well. Coach Brooks is crazy as well. Like they all kids at heart for real. Like it's fun to watch them. Coach knew everybody. Coach Brooks playing. He be talking to me about playing 2K and everything. He crazy.
Well, so you're saying Coach Drew was on the jet ski?
He was on the jet skis. I caught him on birds. I'm like on the bird scooters. I'm like, yo, what? He's
So is
crazy.
any of that a little bit shocking to you? Because I don't think most people would expect the coach to be doing some of the stuff that a lot of the players are doing. So is that shocking to you then?
Yeah, it was shocking because he's like a big kid. I'm like, I didn't even know he could ride scooters. I mean, he going fast on the scooters. Fuck, coach, like chill, like he going fast too.
All right. So who's the funniest coach on the coaching staff then?
Coach Brooks, I ain't gonna lie, he the funniest. He crazy, man. He's the funniest for sure. I talk to him every day. Coach Tweety, funny. There's a lot of funny guys on there. Coach Jacobs is crazy. Like everybody got their little only personality. They all funny for real.
So many people typically talk about Coach Drew, and obviously rightfully so, but a lot of people don't obviously to give attention to the assistant coaches. And I know a lot of them, and they're all are great coaches and great guys as well. What makes the coaching staff so great, though? Just being around them and seeing what Coach Drew does at the helm of it, but then seeing the way that all the other coaches kind of help give Coach Drew the opportunity to be great and help him out around and help the personal relationship with you and the personal assistant coaches. How does this whole coaching staff come together, and just how special are they as a group?
I feel like the coaching staff, like they got great communication. Like some days Coach Drew let like the assistant coaches run practice because I know a lot of head coaches don't even do that. So just
Mm.
I feel like Coach Drew does a good job at letting the assistant coaches, have their days or just have a word. He listens to them. They're very good. Like they have very good communication, relationship. They trust each other, whatever decision they make. And I feel like they all do good because they all follow God too.
Mm.
So I love that coaching staff. I ain't gonna lie, they are fun. They fun to be around. I love to get coached by them. They challenging. I love it. So
You just mentioned that too, that they all love God and they follow Him. What's
yeah.
it like just knowing that you go into this journey, obviously trying to learn the ups and downs as a young man growing up, and having countless guys that you can kind of rely on as almost pastor like people, just going to help guide you in your walk with God, as a mentor, I should say. How
Mhm.
big and important do you think that's going to be so far for yourself, but just going forward throughout the next year, maybe 2 years, however long you're at Baylor?
I feel like it's gonna be important, because I feel like it's gonna help me, raise my own kids and my own family.
Hmm.
You know, like raise, help the younger generation as well. So I feel like they just help me, like mentoring me a lot, throughout life, for sure.
You also mentioned that Coach Drew lets the coaches kind of go and run their own practices. Who would you
Yeah.
say would you prefer as the running the practice? Like, who does the best practices, do you think?
I wouldn't even say the best practice. I would say the most difficult, like the most difficult practice. So
Hmm.
the most difficult practice I'd say is Coach P. But yeah, Coach P has the most difficult workouts practice. Like you really have to be focused. I feel like Coach Brooks does a good job, at running the practice as well. Coach New does too, but Coach P is the one you have to be ready for. Like he is his workouts and his practice is like very difficult. I'm not gonna lie, his is
Hmm.
crazy. So you got to be locked in for his for sure.
You look at the track record of Coach Drew. He's put in guys in the NBA such as Keontae, Davion, Jared Butler. The list goes on of guys that are at the guard position specifically. How big was that in your recruiting process, knowing that, okay, I'm going to a situation where this coaching staff obviously knows how to get guys to the next level, which is where you want to be. How big is that for you?
I feel like it was very big in my decision because that's where I want to be at. So just seeing the player development and what guys he got in the NBA and everything. I feel like I feel like it influenced my decision a lot. Most of them guys have similar games to me, so I feel like it just helped a lot. And seeing them, in their player development, I feel like it helped for sure. Made me want to
So
go here.
So far, then, how would you say Coach Drew gets you to help kind of develop you for the NBA? Because like I said, to have this many guys go to the NBA at the guard position is not something that every coach in the country can do. So just seeing what he does so far, what are some of the unique aspects that he helps you develop in as a guard?
I feel like he challenged me in areas that I'm weak at. Like
Mm,
he knows I'm a good on-ball defender. He
yeah.
knows a lot of things, but he challenges me like on things like I'm not good at. So like I feel like one day, I think it was like 2 days ago, he called me out on not talking or not being a good off-ball defender. I never thought about that. Like I always thought I was a good on-ball defender. I mean off-ball defender, but he challenges me to make me even more better. Just he always sees stuff in me that I can improve on. I appreciate him for that for sure.
So kind of hopping into the NBA aspect, I mentioned that we look at some early mock drafts, and obviously it's way too early for a reason because lots of things can happen. But I'm sure you still have kind of seen that in the back of your mind a little bit, saying, okay, you know that the NBA is something that some people are rumoring for yourself in the future, whether that be after this season, maybe another season, whatever the case may be. How do you deal with that? How do you balance this, kind of focusing on saying, you know what, I've got a job to do this season, at least on this court, playing at Baylor, and still knowing that, you know what, I do have the dream of playing in the NBA and knowing that that can become a reality someday?
I really handle it by like not looking at it. I ain't gonna lie, cause
Okay.
the more I look at it, or the more or more if I looked at a mock draft or something, like bring me a lot of pressure. Like because I want to be great. Everybody want to have good games, but what you gonna do when you have a bad game and stuff not going your way? So I really try not to look at it and just play basketball, and then whatever the outcome is, that's the outcome. Just know I tried my hardest for sure though.
How do you think you would kind of feel comfortable saying, you know, I know I'm ready to take this next jump? I know you probably would go through the NBA draft process and whatever, and that would help you out as well. But in terms of your own game, to kind of give yourself the confidence saying, you know what, I think I'm ready to make this jump. What needs to develop? What needs to happen in your game for that to be the case for yourself?
I feel like it's just more confidence. I work out. I feel like I work out on everything. Watch film. That's one thing I had improved on too. Watching film on myself, and I feel like they do a good job here. We watch film on practice, not only games but like practice. So I feel like it helped a lot. Just improving, showing my playmaking ability, being able to pass, being able to play the one. I feel like that's gonna help a lot.
In the system you're going to, we know that you're going to have a lot more opportunity to be able to score the ball. And I know that's the one thing we look at it. Your shooting percentages are really high. We know you're a great on-ball defender. We know that you have a good length as well for a guard spot. You're also a young player overall. Do you think we're going to be able to see yourself score at a higher clip, get more opportunity to score this year, playing in a different system and offense that Coach Drew has?
Yes, I feel like just the system and the style of play that Baylor has in general, like in practice, like or the plays that he just calls out is really just guard orientated, or guard coming off ball screens or guards just trying to make plays. So
Hmm.
style of play is just meant just for guards. So you're gonna have like whoever plays it, like the guard position is gonna have to score for sure. And he plays three guards at that too.
So how confident are you about yourself heading into this year? Because it is a big jump. I mentioned you were playing at a great conference still in the 8-10 last year, but you go to the Big 12, the best basketball conference, in my opinion, in the entire country. I don't think it's really that close either. So you're going to be playing against the top of the top schools night in and night out, every single game of the season. How confident are you about yourself heading into this season now?
I say I'm very confident. I'm just excited to see what our future holds. We have a great team, great wings, great bigs, great guards. These guys are fun to be around, fun to play against. So I feel like I'm very excited. I'm just ready to play somebody other than ourselves. I'm tired of playing, each other. I want this for sure.
So how excited are you to be able to step on that court and play your very first game as a Baylor Bear?
I'm gonna be very excited. I can't wait to. I can't wait. I'm probably not gonna sleep that night. The day, so it's gonna be crazy.
So I do want to break down this roster, though, before I let you go, because I mentioned there's a lot of change happening here. For the past few years, college fans have gone to fall in love with the LJ Cryer, Adam Flagler duo. Last year, we saw Keontae come in. The whole guard corps now is renovated, has changed a lot. Now we've got yourself, we've got Ray J, we got Jacoby, Mario Little's coming in now, and he's going to be an impact guy as a freshman. The list goes on. What can we expect specifically from the guards on this team? How special can you guys be as a guard tandem?
Feel like we're going to be very special just by the way we challenge each other every day in practice, workouts. We play one-on-one a lot, open gym. Feel like we're just going to be very special about how we challenge each other. I feel like a lot of guards, they don't challenge each other like how we do. We play each other differently. Got a
Mm.
chip on our shoulder. It's going to be very exciting just to, play with these guys, play other people for sure.
Which guard do you like going up against the most on this roster?
Mm, Ray J, I like in practice. In practice, I'm not gonna lie. If I'm on the other team, I like playing against Ray J and Kobe. Like if I play them, I'm a guard. I'll guard Ray J or I'll guard Kobe. Like I always
Mm.
guard one of the only people I guard. And DeAntoine. I like guarding DeAntoine too. He fast. So
Who would you say out of this whole roster then are some guys that people might not be giving enough attention to? Because we talk about you, we kind of have an expectation that you're going to be a starter, a guy that people can count on. Same thing with Ray J. We know Jacoby's a top 10 incoming freshman. But there's a lot of guys that we just haven't got to see a lot yet. Guys that might be not as highly ranked, guys that might just be coming back like Langston Love and so on and so forth. Has there been anyone that's maybe shocked you a little bit that people might not be expecting to have a big role that you think will have a big role on this team this year?
one player. I mean, I can name a couple or just one.
You can do as much as you want, yeah.
Eves Messi. He shocked me a lot. The big. He got crazy bounce.
Mm.
Top of the backboard. Who else? Jacoby. Jacoby is a great shooter, just a great scorer in general. Ray J is good. Miro is good. Like everybody's special in their own way. But I feel like Eves has surprised me. Now I did not expect him to be that athletic at that height, or just that good. He got great touch around the rim. He can shoot the midi, and yeah, they all the bigs really good for real. He could jump out. They all can jump out the gym, but he
Mm.
surprised me a lot for sure.
No, you is someone that I think some people are interested to see because we all know he's a promising player, but he came in a little bit late to the team, obviously reclassified and
Yeah,
whatnot. How is he looking so far then?
he might average a double double this year. Like he's
Mm.
like I told him that too. Like just if you came to practice and were like you just seen him, just watch him, like you would be like, wow, like he probably gonna go win. He probably He's surprised. He's excited to watch play and everything. So it's crazy.
So as a freshman, think he come into the Big 12 and average a double-double. That's how special he's looking so far?
I think it'll be close for sure. It'll be close to
Mm.
double. If not double double, it'll be close for sure.
Okay. And we talked about one other guy on the team, Josh. You guys, and we talked about your defense a little bit, but there was a clip that came out while you guys were on that foreign tour. You guys were playing a little bit of a soccer match out there. And I didn't know you had too much soccer goalie skills. So you got to take us through that a little bit because I know you as a basketball player and you guys showed us some little soccer stuff. Now, I'm not a guy that knows how to evaluate soccer too well, but you got to take us through that a little bit.
Man, I don't know how to play soccer for nothing, but we was talking stuff, and Coach Drew challenged us. Coach Jacobs had challenged us. Whoever get a stop and everything, challenge us. He said I want to get a stop on Josh and everything. So me and Josh was talking smack, and I told him I'd get a stop on him. So I had to play goalie. This was my first time playing goalie, and I went out there the first time. He's kicking the ball. He know how to play soccer, so I didn't. He kicking the ball hard, and he I think he hit like 2 goals on me. So
Mhm.
it's the third one I had to get a stop. He said I wouldn't get a stop, so guess where he's gonna kick the ball, and I finally got a stop. It was crazy, but I'm never doing that again because I don't know how to play soccer. So
I was going to say, so we're not going to get a rematch of that then?
I'm probably Eves know how to play soccer. Josh and yeah, that's probably the only two that know how to play soccer real good.
All right, so you talk about this team then. Obviously, when you have this roster, you guys are going to go in the top 25. I don't know where they're going to rank you guys. And obviously, whenever the first rankings come out, I don't think they matter too much. They don't matter at all because things happen so quickly. But you guys have the talent. This team could be a team that we could see come March or April, I should say, potentially hoist up the championship. How special do you think this team can be?
I feel like this team could be very special. I feel like this team is different because we all like chasing after the same goal. I see guys, get a lot of guys get extra work in like all the time. So I feel like that just motivate each other. We all motivate each other to want to be better. So we always challenge each other in practice. Every practice is very competitive.
Mm.
Every scrimmage or anything we do with each other is just very competitive. So I feel like we do a good job at that.
Absolutely, man. Well, I got my final question for you, and that's to say, when you look at this team and you look at yourself, what would you say would make a successful season for yourself? Because obviously lots of things can happen. I'm sure you got goals. What would make it a successful first season at Baylor for Jayden Nunn?
I'd say a successful first season at Baylor because I hate losing. So I really do hate losing. So just like winning the conference, regular season, conference tournament, just winning everything. Just trying to win everything. Even if we lose, just know I know we played our hardest. So because I know it's realistic to win every game, but just trying to win at everything we do or play our hardest, no matter what the outcome is.
Absolutely, man. Well, Jayden, best luck this upcoming season. I'm so excited to see what God's got in store for you this year, man. Keep being the light, and best of luck, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me.
Of course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless, bro.
God bless. Thank you.
Appreciate everyone that tuned into that interview. I'll be back in a little bit after this quick break, and we'll get into a lot of different topics that I kind of talked about heading into the interview. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. I'll see you guys after this break. God bless. From the moment I was born, a ball was in my hands and a deep passion for sports was ignited. My dream was to play the game for as long as possible, but God had other plans. After battling with severe illnesses caused by black mold poisoning for nearly 4 years, I made the difficult decision to let go of my on-court dreams heading into my junior year of high school. However, I was determined to have one last victorious moment as an athlete, and that was achieved on February 9th, 2019, when I ran a marathon at the age of 16. That night, as I took a recovery Epsom salt bath, I felt God place on my heart the idea to start a podcast. Although I didn't know where to begin, the first episode of SchuZ Views dropped on March 11th, 2019. Over the next 1,183 days, more than 600,000 people tuned into 1,056 interviews. Then, on June 6, 2022, my final interview for over a year was released featuring Jameer Young. I never once thought that I'd be off the air for over a year, but the truth is there was something missing in me. At first, I thought creating a website would help fill that void, so I went and put together SchuZ.net, but nothing changed. Throughout the next month, I continued searching for answers, and eventually, God worked in the only way that would have gotten my attention at that point in time. Through something work-related. By the end of July 2022, my parents blessed me with the opportunity to build a studio. However, before breaking ground, the real change began. On August 3rd, 2022, my life changed forever. Once again, I happened to be taking a bath late into the night, and suddenly, an indescribable feeling came upon me. It was a profound urge to open up my Bible and read. I turned to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and since that night, not a single day has passed without me spending time in the Word. You see, what was missing all along was Jesus. On August 6th, my dad and I began to lay the foundation for the next chapter of my career. Simultaneously, the foundation of who I was created to be was also being laid. Over the years, I had lost sight of my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I knew of God, but I didn't know Him, and I certainly was not following or living like Him. But day by day, the new me began to take shape. My former self's sole priority faded away, and I began to live out the acronym I often talked about, FJTFOE. It stands for First Jesus, then Family Over Everything. God became my everything, and He transformed me entirely. He helped me rediscover my love for family, running, lifting, playing basketball, giving back, the church, and most importantly, Him. This journey began with a craving to nourish my old identity, but God's hand was always in control, rapidly shaping my new identity. As God transformed me, He also grew my relationship with every member of my family. Together they stood by me and contributed to the person I am today. Through it all, Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20 manifested its truth in my life. The blessings I received far exceeded anything I could have imagined. The truth is that God's hand has always been there, but now I'm committed to following His path. Although I may look different,
and my heart has undergone a profound change, I am truly blessed to announce the beginning of a new chapter. Starting July 24th, I will be launching my new show, the SchuZ Show, which will air on my YouTube channel every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I can't wait for you guys to join me in this next chapter. I'll see you guys soon, and may God bless you all.
There is a funny aspect about you, and that's the fact that I don't think you necessarily even tried to, but there's been countless times in your brief NBA career already that you've made it viral. You've made memes of yourself, whatever it might be. One of which was in the midst of that 40-point streak. You obviously broke LeBron's record, and you made your comment saying about, well, I'm not really a LeBron guy, I'm a Kobe guy. And I don't think you even intended that to go viral. Now you have that.
Nah, not at all.
There's your Steve Nash moment during the Summer League. We know that aspect. I think that was after the second year. You had a fine, obviously, at one point. You have your branding that you've now done. When you look at all these, like, do you ever intend to expect something to go viral or be funny, or does you just end up happening, and then by the time you get back on your phone, you're like, oh, this already just went down, dang.
Bro, that's crazy. No, not at all. No, because even with my brand, like when a random person asks me, because random people always see like, oh, he's so serious, and I'm just like, bro. And then I say it all the time. Like I say it no matter what. And I said it at one time and it blew up. And I was just like, I mean, I said it. I've been saying it every time. Like somebody asked me that. So then, that blew up. And then the Kobe thing, I was just being honest. I mean, it's no disrespect to LeBron. Obviously, I love looking at LeBron playing stuff like that. You know, he's done a lot for the game and stuff. But it's just me being a fan of basketball. Me growing up with Kobe. Just my love for Kobe is like unmatched. So really that part. So really everything I say, I'm just like. I mean, I'm not really intending to go viral. I'm just speaking what's on my mind at that point. So, if it goes viral, it goes viral.
Which one of the things that's happened so far, maybe even one that I've not listed yet, was the most surprising to you? Like by the time you got on your phone, maybe even someone else came and told you about it, where you're like, dang, that really went viral?
The branding. My brand, honestly. I was never expecting that to go viral. Because I always said it. I always said the same thing. No matter what somebody asked me that, I always said it. And that went viral before. And then that one particular day, I woke up and then the very next day or a few hours later, I don't really remember because we was playing Philly when I said it. We was playing Philly. And then when I said it, it took off and I was like, oh man, I was not expecting that at all.
Staying consistent, I move with the clock. I'm in the zone, I'm not casting a stone. I'm finna stand on a rock, firm foundation. I got that dog in me, like 101 Dalmatian. I got girl with me, so I know that I'm still finna make it. I'm still finna take it. I hopped in the ring and I'm still going crazy. I cut off this sin like I just got a taper. I walk in the storm and then God gave me favor. I'm still going forward. I just had to lock in the Lord. I knew that I'm finna make it. Throwing my old self, he got deported. Shout out to the king and I'm finna take it.
The second hour of the show, it was a little bit different time start because we had the interview at 3:15 my time, 6:15 p.m. Eastern time. With that being said, though, I didn't give you guys a little bit of insight on what we're going to get into the second hour. We got a lot of stuff because we took about a week off from the shows. Didn't come on Thursday. Had a little bit of miscalculation, or we had a little bit of rescheduling stuff to get into there. But we'll get into announce who's going to come on Thursday at the end of the show. But that's going to happen tomorrow now instead. And then Monday I end up taking off as well. So a lot of sports have been going down. The point is, we have NBA news. We have college basketball, college football, NFL news, baseball news. We've got a lot to get into. And I'm excited to touch up on all of that. And we had a little bit of a plan built, and that plan fluctuates as headlines come out. And during the duration of that interview with Jayden Nunn, there was two big breaking news updates that just came out. Let's start football-wise. Cam Akers has been traded to the Minnesota Vikings. It will include a 2026 pick swap, and in this trade, it will reunite Cam Akers with Kevin O'Connell, who obviously used to be the coordinator out there with the Rams. Okay, this is interesting news here because Cam Akers starts off the season 22 carries for 28 yards, if I'm not mistaken. Rough opening game. And let's actually back this up a little bit. Cam Akers was a guy that was very promising. I had very high hopes for. I thought he was going to be great. The Achilles injury occurs. He comes back very early and doesn't look too swell when he returns in that playoff series and the couple playoff games and whatnot when he returned a couple years ago. Then we head into last season. And the whole drama and dilemma unfolds there, where he becomes the go-to guy. Things aren't playing so well. He goes on a little bit of a break. He leaves the team. They're rumored to trade him. Then they're rumored to cut him. And then he comes back and starts playing a role and starts playing good again. And then we head into this offseason, and we're wondering, okay, well, this Rams team, who knows what's going to happen? We have all kinds of questions. And Cam Akers looks like RB1. So, okay, he comes out, and he leads the pack heading out of the gate for the Rams in week 1. As I mentioned, he gets 22 carries, leads the team in snaps and carries. Well, it was a very poor outing, to say the least, in that week 1 game. And Kyren Williams really breaks out, and then we see Cam Akers does not even play in week 2. And so we hear rumors, okay, he's probably going to get moved. But when I first heard this, I said, okay, right, we've heard this a few times now. Cam Akers is going to get moved. Okay, let's wait till it actually happens. Well, guess what? That has now officially happened. Cam Akers is officially on the move. He no longer is an LA Ram. He is now a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Well, what does this mean? I'm not quite sure 100%. It's not a massive blockbuster of a trade, but it is significant. The Minnesota Vikings has the least amount of rushing yards, if I'm not mistaken. A tweet that just came out recently from Adam Schefter, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, mentioned that the Minnesota Vikings have the least amount of rushing yards in the first 2 weeks of the season since two teams, I think it was the Miami Dolphins and someone else, in the 2019 NFL season. Okay. Yeah, it's not been pretty. We all thought that Dalvin Cook was just a guy that you could just replace with ease, and Alexander Madison would step right in and look great. It hasn't looked too swell out there either. Now, the offense has been moving. Don't get that mistaken. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison's been balling. That crew looks good, but that run game looks awful. And so you add Cam Akers in there. This is not a Jonathan Taylor per se, but could this be an intriguing move? Could this potentially be something that can get this run game going? Could it potentially be a new move, a new change of scenery for Cam Akers to establish himself as a member of the Minnesota Vikings, to establish himself and become a guy that is a reliable option? Get back to the coordinator that helped him look promising few years, 2, 3, 4 years ago with Kevin O'Connell. Can this be the move? Because listen, the offense is going to be there. You know, the receivers and the passing game looks great. We need running game. And you could possibly do a split share now between Alexander Madison, Cam Akers, and that could get interesting. So we'll see when it's unfolding there. But I think it is a win-win. The Rams clearly are able to move on now. You have Kyren Williams. He looks great, at least more than capable than Cam Akers does in that system. And so you kind of move on. You don't really need Cam Akers anymore. You got it kind of figured out. But the Minnesota Vikings, you don't have any run game figured out. Might as well take a shot at Cam Akers. I'm not sure the exact pick. I have to assume it's a 7th round pick swap in 2026. Really has a low risk, high reward situation, I should say. I'm not sure. I'm not going to come out here and say Cam Akers is going to lead the NFL in rushing yards. Cam Akers is going to be a dominant threat. He's going to replace Dalvin Cook by himself. I'm not going to say that. Does he have potential? Have we seen potential outbursts from him throughout his career, different flashes, different points where it says, okay, Cam Akers could be legit? Sure. But I'm not going to sit up here and say that I think he's going to come in and ball out with the Minnesota Vikings right away. So we'll see what ends up unfolding, but I think that does help the offense with the Minnesota Vikings for sure. Other breaking news that came out in the midst of that interview now as we flip over to the NBA scene. Buddy Hield. They were in contract extension negotiations with the Indiana Pacers, and they have now stalled. And it has now resulted in them trying to find a potential trade. This is in the early stages. I don't know if this is going to be something that we see occur in the next couple of days or weeks. Maybe it doesn't even happen at all, But Buddy Hield could be on the move. That's interesting to me because we'll see what ends up unfolding out of the situation. I like Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield's a good player. Buddy Hield's a great three-point shooter, and he seemed to fit really well chemistry-wise, but also on the court alongside Tyrese Halliburton and the rest of the squad. However, we look at the Indiana Pacers, they're still a few years out from being a legitimate threat. You know what I mean? This is not a team that I say is going to come out here and win a championship in the next year or two. Most likely, right? I love the pieces, though. Tyrese Halliburton looks great. Andrew Nembhard's a great piece. Ben Mathurin, love him. You have Miles Turner down there. You got Obi Toppin, who I'm very high on that trade that occurred this summer. Like, you've got a lot of nice pieces surrounding this team that I'm excited to see what ends up unfolding with them. And so you get Buddy Hield out of there. It frees up more minutes at the guard spot. So you have a guy like Ben Mathurin that can come in. You have a guy in – you obviously moved Chris Duarte out there as well this past year, so he's being traded out. But you have more minutes for Andrew Nembhard. You have more minutes for these young guys. So it could be a win-win, although I don't mind having that veteran presence on that team. It could help them a lot. But teams that could use Buddy Hield, well, he's a sharpshooter. I think you look at all 30 teams in the NBA, everyone needs shooting. So he's going to be something that you could get some value for. I don't know exactly what the package is going to look like, nor do I know if this even is going to happen. Like, this is in the early stages as far as we know. It just got broken news just recently. So we'll see what ends up unfolding there. But I'm not going to make a top teams that could possibly go there because, let's be honest, literally every team could use a Buddy Hield. Like, there's no team that he can't fit into. So we'll see what ends up unfolding. But that is the two breaking news. So let's stick in the NBA, though, because throughout the duration of the past few days since I've been on break, there's been a few different news that came out. One, Dwight Howard, he did a workout with the Warriors. They clearly do need some big man depth there, and he's a good veteran. He's quite the character. I do love Dwight Howard, and I think he should be in the NBA. I don't see why he's not in the NBA. I would not be surprised to see him back, and playing with the Warriors would be a good fit. You could get him a legitimate opportunity to go out there and play off the bench in certain minutes. He's not going to be a guy you're going to put in there. He's going to be a starting center or even potentially backup center. But give him some bench minutes, play him throughout the season when you need depth. He's a solid guy, a good veteran. As long as he's going to be a good character and presence there, I wouldn't mind that. But I do think Dwight Howard should be back in the NBA. He's talented enough to be there. Other news, Taj Gibson is returning to the Washington Wizards on a one-year deal for $3.2 million. A good veteran presence once again. They've reshaped that entire roster. Keeping and adding a veteran in that locker room will be key because you have a lot of young guys. Helps them along right there as well. Another extension, Jared Vanderbilt. He is returning and staying, or I should say, with the Lakers on a 4-year, $48 million extension. Solid returning there. I think he's going to be a valuable piece to what could potentially be a championship run for the LA Lakers. They have a lot of talent. I've said it a few times. I'm very high on what the Lakers have done throughout the duration of this offseason. Very, very high on it. He's going to be a guy I think will come off the bench, be a solid bench piece, be a guy that can defend, be a guy that you can utilize. I think Rui's going to be the guy at the forward spot. I think you have Anthony Davis, Rui, LeBron, Reeves, and D'Lo or Gabe Vincent there. And then we'll kind of figure out the pieces around them. But I like the depth there as well. So he's staying there. I mean, obviously he could be traded, of course, but he's going to be locked in with the Lakers on a 4-year, $48 million extension. Other NBA news, Jose Alvarado. He has an ankle sprain, and he could miss some camp time. It doesn't say he's not going to be out for the regular season, so I think they should be fine. David Griffin even just talked about recently saying the fact that they need to prioritize health in that team, and I 100% agree. Because the New Orleans Pelicans, they need health. We cannot seem to get this team to be healthy. It's time after time of injury. And I'm not just saying Zion. We know the Zion dilemma. I'm talking Brandon Ingram. I'm talking we got Trey Murphy out for a long time now. Jose Alvarado was banged up a lot of last season. CJ McCollum, he played last season, but he was not healthy, and that was obvious. there's just been so many injuries. This list could go on. So they need health, and I would love to see what this Pelicans team can do at full strength. So we'll see if that ends up ever getting to come to fruition or not. So that's where we're going to stay with the NBA stuff, except we have one big thing I want to touch up on. And it's been talked about because it is a solid pickup, but I feel like I might be the highest person on this pickup. Kelly Oubre Jr. has agreed to a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia 76ers. I like this move a lot, and I don't know why it's not being talked about enough. He's a guy that averaged 20 points per game last year. Now, it was in a limited rotation, and also at the very same time, he only played a handful of games, and it was a losing team. But Kelly Oubre can ball, so let's not discredit what he's done throughout the duration of his career. This 76ers team that is a little bit of a crazy train wreck right now. We're talking about all kinds of stuff with James Harden trade dilemma and all this different stuff happening right now. And the rumors that are coming out from other people about the Embiid potential stuff down the road, who knows if that's accurate or not. They get a guy right now in Kelly Oubre Jr. who can step right up on in there and be a starting player potentially for them, if not a bench key. Like, he could be the sixth man for this team, because if you have Harden, then you have obviously Harden, Tyrese, Tobias, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid there. You get Kelly Oubre some scoring off the bench, and he's a huge upgrade. I mean, your other guys in the rotation right now is Daniel House. Didn't really play much last year, not that high on him. DeAnthony Melton, I like him. He can be in the rotation still as well. Birkin Korkmaz, like, there's not much depth there at the wing, so he gets to step right in, and you get him on a minimum contract. This was a guy that I thought could be a huge signing, and a guy that I thought would be going for much more than a minimum contract. We've seen both Christian Wood and Kelly Oubre go. I'm not as surprised about the Christian Wood thing, but I am shocked that Kelly Oubre is coming off on a minimum contract on a 1-year deal going to the 76ers. So I'm actually very, very high on this. Now, we have got to see what the heck unfolds here with the Philadelphia 76ers, because quite frankly, I don't know what is going to happen with this roster. The James Harden situation is wild. Who knows if he's going to play? We've heard rumors about all these guys. Almost everyone on that team has heard their name being brought up in trades, except for Tyrese Maxey. He's the only guy I feel like they've said they're not going to trade, and has not had him even come out and say he wants to be traded. Everyone else is just like, I don't know what's going on. Now, Embiid, like I said, it's not him coming out directly. I guess he did have that one little talk he mentioned earlier about the winning situation a couple months back. But overall, I think Kelly Oubre Jr. is a huge signing. If this team can get everyone to come back and they are fine and they don't have all these different issues in this locker room, Kelly Oubre Jr. could be a huge signing for this roster, especially the minimum contract. That's a huge bargain contract for them. And that would be absolutely huge for the 76ers team. So that's what we're going to talk about NBA news. I'm going to head over to baseball real quick, and we're going to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Man, there's lots of rumors going on about all different kinds of stuff, and we've heard this for about 1.5 years now. Shohei Ohtani, though, over the duration of the past week, cleared out his locker room, been ruled out for season due to an oblique strain. Now he's been officially ruled out for the remainder of the season completely now. He's undergone his surgery now. It's happened now. Now, we're not sure exactly the specifics of what type of UCL surgery it is. But then we got an update saying that he will be hitting next year in the lineup. He is going to be hitting, but he's not going to be pitching until 2025. Okay, that's great. Shohei Ohtani will be back. That's not the problem that we're all talking about here. We know Shohei Ohtani is great. We know all that. Okay. He's a free agent this year. And we were talking about Shohei Ohtani as a guy that was going to get $500 million. Maybe even more. Let's be honest, maybe even more than that, because we heard rumors of Juan Soto potentially getting in that range as well. Hitting the $600 million range was something that was being rumored not too long ago. Okay, so you add a guy that's not extremely young, that is not going to be hitting until 2025, and that's to say he is 100% recovered and healthy at that point in time. How much money are you going to be willing to give him? Stephen A. brought up a decent point, I should say, mentioning the fact that at the end of the day, the Angels have not won with Shohei Ohtani. Now, baseball, you need a roster. Don't get that mistaken. And Shohei Ohtani has been absolutely special. He was the runaway MVP in the AL this year. Generational talent, maybe the best ever player to play. But he's not necessarily box office to the extent that some of the guys are in terms of putting people in their seats. The Angels Stadium was not very packed this season. And that might be something to go against the Angels fans. But that also could be because the games were not necessarily just getting full and filled up when Shohei came to town. So you're not necessarily going to be getting box office money and revenue generated off of him. So that brings up an interesting point. How much money is someone going to be willing to pay Shohei Ohtani this winter, I should say. My apologies. It is going to turn into a bidding war. I think the Angels are completely ruled I don't want to say completely ruled out. I'd put them well in the next second or third tier of teams that could possibly land him. We know there's going to be a bidding war. We know the Dodgers, the Yankees, Padres are going to get their name in the mix. Would it surprise me if the Mets get involved? No. I know we hear all this, the 2026 or whatever it is, talks that they're going to get ready for that season, and so 2025 rumors, whatever it is that they've been talking about. I don't know. But I would be shocked if Cohen doesn't get involved with them. And I'm sure we'll have some other teams get rumored in there as well. So when you get those big market teams, though, it's going to be turned into a bidding war. And I think at that point, we're going to see him go up in higher and higher value. And I think he will get to the $500 million contract. Does he deserve it, though? Prior to the injury, I would have not even questioned that. With the injury, I do have concern, but at the end of the day, you're getting Shohei Ohtani. It's pretty hard not to say you want Shohei Ohtani on your team. If Shohei Ohtani is going to come to your team and play in your clubhouse, you're not going to turn that down. So therefore, if I'm the Yankees, if I'm the Padres, if I'm the Dodgers, if I'm any of these teams, I'm going to go after Shohei Ohtani. Depends at the expense, though. And if you're the Yankees, you got to look at it really probably more than anybody else has to look at it from the extent that, okay, you currently have a roster that is top to bottom veterans that are injury prone. And some of these young bloods, they were coming up on in this team and they were balling out when they got an opportunity to. And the old guys, quite frankly, DJ LeMahieu, he's recovered a little bit the past month or so, but still is having an off year. Stanton, it's not looking good there. Aaron Judge is great when he plays. He's striking out more than just about anybody, but it's Aaron Judge. He's fine. He's also had his toe injury. Gleyber Torres has been fine. Also battling some stuff as well there. Like this team has a lot of injuries, and you already got rid of the Josh Donaldson stuff, and that was chaotic. You had the Harrison Bader situation. You got rid of him. You've got a lot of guys that are injury prone on this team. So adding in a player that has got a rehab coming up in front of him that we don't know how healthy he's going to be, that could be quite the risk if you're the New York Yankees. But at the same time, you're getting Shohei Ohtani, so I don't know. I mean, having Ohtani and Aaron Judge together for the next 4, 5, 6 years would be something special to see. But I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there. But obviously, I think Ohtani is still going to hit the $500 million contract, if not more. It's just going to be interesting to see what ends up unfolding there. Some other relative news I'll get into before we go into a little bit of a break here. Some college basketball stuff. Starting off with Juwan Howard. He had a successful heart procedure operation to resect an aortic aneurysm and repair an aortic valve. The doctor who performed this procedure said Howard is expected to fully recover in 6 to 12 weeks and could return to the program in 4 to 6 weeks. So prayers up to Coach Howard. Hopefully all returns well there and health-wise there. I'm glad they caught him. I'm not sure the extent of what unfolded to make that end up becoming the diagnosis and what had to occur for him. But hopefully it's all figured out, and prayers up for him. Other interesting college basketball news. Zion Cruz and Dior Johnson are both JUCO bound. A little bit interesting. Zion Cruz put his name in the portal about a week ago, and now he's playing JUCO basketball next year. Dior Johnson, the same thing. Both guys have different stories as to why they're doing this. And I think both guys were guys I was very high on coming out of high school or throughout high school. And I know that would probably be a little bit controversial for Dior at least. But we'll see what ends up unfolding there because Dior Johnson, Zion Cruz, I think both are very talented guys. A little shocked to see them going to JUCO. And this is no disrespect to JUCO. Everyone that knows me knows I love JUCO basketball. Just shocking to see them at this point in time playing at the JUCO level. So we'll see what ends up unfolding with them. The other one, I do want to touch upon this a little bit more in depth to a certain extent. Arterio Morris has been suspended indefinitely from the Kansas program following a rape allegation. It's hard to exactly elaborate on what's going on there because at this point it's allegation. I don't want to convict somebody that has not been proven guilty yet. That's not something I ever want to do, and that's something that we tend to do in today's world a lot, and I'm not going to jump to that conclusion. What I am going to say, though, is that when we talk about him moving on to Kansas in the transfer portal, there was already concerns because of what happened just a year ago. And that was not solved yet when he came to the Kansas program. Now, he's a great player. I think he would have been a bench player for Kansas this season. I think Marco Jackson's the guy for them to just be starting for them at the guard spot. But he would have been a good, legitimate bench piece. But there was a lot of controversy in him coming to the Kansas program right out the gate. And so for this news to come out now and for him to be suspended indefinitely, which you always have to do in any situations, it's something that I think a lot of people are scratching the head on. And if this comes to be true, if this is indeed something that he gets proven guilty of, I'm not sure how he's going to find another opportunity to play basketball anymore. And on top of that, there will have to be some explaining to be done by the Kansas program, because they've had a lot of situations in times past with some controversial players and issues off the court. Getting a guy in this situation, which a lot of people were already hesitant to and were questioning why they would bring him on, having this potentially occur to a victim, that an innocent victim, would be horrible. And so we'll have to see how this unfolds. Like I said, I'm not convicting anybody. I'm not putting the blame on anybody yet. But if this comes to be true, that is something that we have to seriously evaluate and look at, because that is unacceptable and something that the Kansas program will have to look at and talk about and own up to. So that is what I have to get into regarding basketball stuff. And we got a lot more football stuff to get into, which we'll wrap the show up on following this break. But I'll see you guys in just a few minutes, and we'll head to the short break right now. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. God bless you guys. All right, talk to you guys soon. God bless. If you were to have the ball in your hands the whole game, you're the guy for a whole season, 82-game season, how much do you think you're averaging?
Ball in my hand, 25, no doubt. Easy. 25, no doubt, easy. And that's just me knowing my ability and knowing what I can bring every night. Because I feel like, because I see like the little stats on Twitter, some games, they be like, when Cam Thomas plays this certain amount of minutes, he averages 30, or he plays, this amount of games with this amount of minutes, he averages 25. So I feel like if I have the ability to play with the ball in my hand, make the decisions, all that stuff, I feel like I can average 25 points a game easy, no doubt.
Staying consistent, I move with the clock. I'm in the zone, I'm not casting a stone. I'm finna stand on a rock, firm foundation. I got that dog in me, like 101 Dalmatian. I got girl with me, so I know that I'm still finna make it. I'm still finna take it. I hopped in the ring and I'm still going crazy. Staying consistent, I move with the clock. I'm in the zone, I'm not casting a stone. I'm finna stand on a rock, firm foundation. I got that dog in me, like 101 Dalmatian. I got girl with me, so I know that I'm still finna make it. I'm still finna take it. I hopped in the ring and I'm still going crazy. I cut off this thing like I just got a taper. I walk in the storm and then God gave me favor. I'm still going forward. I just had the luck in the Lord. I knew that I'm finna make it. Throwing my old self, he got deported. Shout out to the king and I'm finna take it.
Welcome back, everyone, to the SchuZ Show. We're now going to get into some football topics. We're going to kick it off on NFL, and then we'll wrap up with college football on the end of the show. Okay, so we're going to start off with some headlining NFL news outside of the breaking news of Cam Akers we already got into. which to shout out real quickly, the Cam Akers trade has come back. It is a 2026 7th round for a 6th round pick. So not a big deal. Like we talked, I kind of figured it was not going to be in terms of draft assets. Okay. So since the last time I was on the show, we had the devastating Aaron Rodgers injury. Obviously, we talked about that in the last show. Well, interesting news came out, though. Aaron Rodgers could potentially be returning this season in the playoffs. Is it likely? Is it going to happen? I'm not sure. But we have a chance of this happening because I'm going to read this, copy and paste this quote. It was an innovative surgery. It's called a speed bridge. It's placed an internal brace on the Achilles, which is fully torn. The brace protects the repair, giving him a chance to open in a few months. Well, a few months, that means we're right about Super Bowl playoff time. Now, that would be an incredibly quick recovery from Aaron Rodgers. Something that would be interesting indeed to see and unfold. Will it occur? I don't know. I cannot specifically say if that's something that's going to be in the cards for him. The main reason, let me just be honest, if any of us watch the Jets, who I'm going to talk about pretty soon, I think a lot of us might see why, and that's because I don't know if this Jets team is even going to make the playoffs or come close to the playoffs with Zach Wilson at the helm of the team. Zach Wilson did not look very good. It was disappointing to see. However, we'll see what ends up unfolding because if Aaron Rodgers returns quickly, is it really worth it though? If they have a chance to win a Super Bowl, of course I would. But if it's rushing it and you possibly hinder yourself at being the full Aaron Rodgers next season and however long he plans on playing this game, that would be a tough pill to swallow. So we'll see what ends up unfolding there with the Aaron Rodgers situation. But at this point in time, there is a chance that Aaron Rodgers returns by the playoffs. I'm not going to say how likely it is once again, but Aaron Rodgers could play this season once again. It would be miraculous. We have seen some fast recoveries from Achilles injuries. He would not be the first one. In basketball, it's nearly impossible to do so. In football, it is possible due to different play styles and stuff like that. It's a tough doctor thing to get into. I'm not going to explain because I don't know it all. But that's where we're staying with the Aaron Rodgers situation. Some other interesting information. Obviously, we know that the Patrick Mahomes deal came to fruition. And this gets interesting on something I'm going to elaborate on real quickly. Let me read the deal. He now receives $210.6 million between 2023 and 2026. That is the most in NFL history over a 4-year span. His compensation for those years is guaranteed. With escalators, the agreement could reach $218.1 million by the end of 2026. The Chiefs and Mahomes plan to revisit the agreement again after the 2026 season, which effectively cuts the remaining years on the deal from 8 additional seasons to 3. At the time of this deal, he was the 8th highest paid quarterback in the National Football League. Much deserved. Win-win, most definitely, no doubt about that. Patrick Mahomes is the best player in all of football. It is not even close. Patrick Mahomes is potentially going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, and might I even say the best. I don't know. It's way too early. I'm not going to say that. I'm just saying he has a chance to. His resume is second to none when we talk about players in the first handful of seasons. He deserves this money. Well done. The Chiefs need to pay him. You need to keep him happy. This team is Mahomes, so on and so forth. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. What I want to say is this, though. What I do want to say is this, and here's what I'm going to get at. And I know this might upset some Chiefs fans because a lot of Chiefs fans have not been liking my takes on the Chris Jones situation. Okay. When I was talking about Chris Jones, what I said was, okay, he wants the $28 million. Pay him that. He is deserving of it. And we'll talk about this in a second. Did we not see the improvement on that defense with and without Chris Jones? It is evident. Look at every game the Chiefs have played with and without Chris Jones since he got there. It is evident of how impactful he is. Why I believe he is the second best defensive line player, not named Aaron Donald. Like, he is right there. He is the best defensive line player, not named Aaron Donald. And that is a fact. And he's getting closer and closer to Aaron Donald as Aaron Donald gets older and older. Chris Jones is elite. He is spectacular and special. And I thought Chris Jones deserved that paycheck to get paid. But Chiefs fans did not like that. Everyone wanted Chris Jones to give up and go play on a cheap deal, being paid outside the top 10 or whatever it was, defenders in the NFL. Absolutely ludicrous. And they got the deal done, which I don't even understand at all, like I mentioned. But he is now a free agent because the being able to franchise tag him next season is cap-wise impossible for the Chiefs. We heard that news, came out in the past week as well. So he is a legitimate free agent this offseason. He will not be franchise tagged. All right. Good for him. But what I'm going at right now is that so many Chiefs fans said, well, Chris Jones, just take the money. You're getting more than enough money. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. Okay. And then the backtracking of that was that, okay, well, look at our quarterback. He's taking a huge pay cut. He's on a team-friendly deal. Let him, Chris Jones, do the very same thing. Patrick Mahomes does it, even though I explained on that aspect that people realize, or don't realize, I guess, that Patrick Mahomes is making the most money in all the NFL off of endorsements, and it's not even particularly close. Almost every commercial you watch involves Patrick Mahomes. So the money truly is earning each year is the most in the NFL. But, okay, let's not talk about that. Chris Jones is going to benefit from that. So I 100% agree with that take. Yeah, these guys deserve to be paid. There's a salary cap, and there's a certain percentage of each guy, and the superstars deserve the vast majority of that. But a lot of people kept saying, well, Patrick Mahomes is taking this team-friendly deal. Well, guess what? He's not on that team-friendly deal anymore. So what is the response to that? What is the response to a lot of people that's going to come out and say now, oh, well, he deserves it? Exactly. That is what I'm going to say, because I don't think too many people are having a fit that he did this. Now, maybe they are. I don't know. We'll see what the reaction is to this video. But Patrick Mahomes is now the highest paid player in NFL history over the next 4 years. That's not a team-friendly deal. And essentially, the long-term 10-year deal until 2031 is still in place, although, like I said, it's going to be revisited in 2026. So this is something that's going to go up again. He's going to go back to being the highest paid, so on and so forth. And like I said, I got no problem with that at all. Patrick Mahomes deserves that and more. Patrick Mahomes is the most valuable player in all the football league. It's not incomparable. So he deserves that money. But all I'm saying here is that the fact of the matter is that I don't know where Chiefs fans are going. If Chiefs fans are truly mad at Patrick Mahomes now too for taking this money, then I don't know what to say. Okay? That is your take, and I guess you stand on it. Good for you. But if your take is now this, where you are in support of Patrick Mahomes getting this much money, why? Why is it okay for Mahomes to get the money but not Chris Jones? Chris Jones was not asking for the $50 million that Patrick Mahomes is about ready to start getting paid over the next 4 years. No. He was getting $28 million. I'm not an expert on math, but that's about half of what Patrick Mahomes is going to get paid now over the next 4 years. And I'd say that's about fair. Chris Jones leads the defense all by himself, and he is a superstar. Patrick Mahomes, on the other hand, is a quarterback that is dominating, leading the offense to Super Bowls. Yes, he deserves that. He deserves more than Chris Jones. But the fact of the matter is that Patrick Mahomes is getting paid because he deserves it. And just like Chris Jones, and just like Patrick Mahomes gets paid because he deserves it, Chris Jones also deserves to get paid because of his play. So I don't know where Chiefs fans will stand on that, but that is my take and why I believe that at the end of the day, Chris Jones sort of got paid. He deserves to get paid. And everyone having a fit about that made absolutely no sense, and it seemed delusional to me, if I'm going to be 100% honest. It makes no sense from a financial standpoint, from a football standpoint, from all these different aspects. We knew the Patrick Mahomes deal was going to come eventually. He was not going to keep sliding down that list forever. So we'll see what ends up unfolding in this situation. But the fact of the matter is that Mahomes is locked in more so, I guess. I don't know. Over the next 4 years, he is the highest paid player in NFL history. Other news, Dalton Risner, he is going to the Vikings on a 1-year, $4 million deal. Kenyon Drake is going to the Baltimore Ravens. Also, Puka Nacua, 15 receptions, 147 yards, most receptions in a single game by a rookie. He's also the first player with 10-plus receptions and 100-plus yards in the first 2 games of career. He's the 5th out of all receivers, no matter what year they're playing, to start the season. And they lost 30-23 to the 49ers. Okay. They got the L, but as I mentioned, heading into the season, I did not know what to expect from the Rams. I was quite low on them, if I'm going to be 100% honest with everybody. But this offense looks interesting. I mean, Stafford doesn't look too bad. Puka Nacua, I don't think he's going to be able to sustain this to this extent, at least. I mean, we're talking about historic numbers right now. But he looks great. Kyron Williams is balling out. McVay's looking like a good coach again, although I never really doubted that. But get Cooper Kupp back in a couple of weeks. We'll see how this all unfolds. So Puka Nacua, though, he's making history. Obviously winning a lot of people some fantasy stuff. Could go down as one of the best fantasy signings in fantasy history. If we're going to be honest here now. So Puka Nacua absolutely balling out right now. He's playing at a level that I don't think many people expected. No one expected, honestly. So that LA Rams team is looking solid there. Another little football news. USFL and XFL are planning on merging their leagues. More development of the little spring, summer football league thing. Once again, news is happening, change is happening there. Who knows what's going to unfold in that situation. But they're planning on merging. All right. 2 other headlines I want to touch up on before we recap week 2 of the NFL season. Number one, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is agreeing to go back to the Cleveland Browns on a 1-year, $4 million deal. We know the devastating injury to Nick Chubb. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But Kareem Hunt comes in. He's been the backup for Nick Chubb over the past couple of seasons. And Ford looked good. He looked really good. But Kareem Hunt knows the system as well. Kareem Hunt's an experienced back. He's been waiting for the right opportunity. I think this is perfect. The Cleveland Browns give a chance to finally let Kareem Hunt be the running back one that he's always wanted to be out there. And so you have this nice little duo now of Kareem Hunt and Ford, and we'll see what ends up happening out there. But I think I'm very high on that. It's low risk, high reward. Not that big of a deal. You lose Nick Chubb, who is debatably one of the best. He's not debatably. He's one of the best running backs in all the NFL. You can't really replace that. This is probably one of the better ways you could do it. Obviously, there's a Jonathan Taylor trade and whatnot. But listen, I think Kareem Hunt can go be efficient, can go do his thing out there for the Browns, who we're going to get into in a little bit because there's a lot of problems there. But Kareem Hunt should be able to help ease the loss of Nick Chubb to some extent. So nothing bad against that signing. I think Kareem Hunt has the right mind there. He's going to the right situation. It should be a good fit for himself, and we'll see how that unfolds there. All right. There's a team I'm going to emphasize more so than any other team in this show, and I never really plan on doing this because they're not a very good football team, but that is why we're going to talk about them, because there is chaos going on, and we're on week 2 right now, and that is the Chicago Bears. What in the world is going on right now? Now, some of the stuff right now I'm going to say is true. Some of it's not true, because I look on my phone and we get these tweets coming out. And 1 second we believe that all of a sudden Alan Williams is for some reason being investigated. The FBI is raiding him. And then we're not getting it if he's not being raided. And we get the practice stadium. They're being raided by the FBI. And then they're not being raided by the FBI. And we have all this stuff. And then we go to this morning and Justin Fields makes his comment about saying it's the coach's fault that he's not performing. Then he has another meeting a couple hours later and says, no, it's my fault. Okay, yeah, originally in the morning. I don't know what's going to go on with Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator for the Bears, or previously. I don't know. He says that 3 times, essentially. And he wasn't coaching last week. We saw him week 1, not there week 2. So what the heck is going on then? And then we find out a couple hours later, oh, yeah, by the way, he is now resigned. He's not being on the coaching staff any longer. Okay, so now we have an opening on week 2 at the defensive coordinator position for the Chicago Bears. And this team's already a mess because, well, Matt Eberflus, this team does not look very good. This team looks bad. Very, very, very bad. And we had a lot of high hopes. We had high hopes for Justin Fields that maybe he breaks down, becomes a legitimate quarterback that can put it all together. You get DJ Moore, you get these other guys. And I know the team's not great. But that happens. And then on top of that, let's go to some injury issues with them. Braxton Jones, he's going on IR because of a neck injury. And there's no timetable for him. Like, what is going on in Chicago right now? I feel bad for these fans. These fans have not had a good quarterback, have not had a good team in quite some time. And I'm not sure what is going on with them. So a little technical difficulty right there, but we should be back up and going now. And hopefully we'll be settled with that situation. All right. So with that situation figured out, we'll get right back to where I left off. And that's discussing the Chicago Bears team. All this has come out in the past couple hours. And we head back just to this past weekend's game. And Justin Fields does not look very good at all. He's struggling on countless aspects. I'm not a super evaluator when it comes to football. I'm not going to sit up here and say I understand the quarterback positions, ins and outs, and all that. But I think from the obvious eye, there's something that's not quite correct right now with Justin Fields and that team. And it probably has something to do with coaching. He does not look like we're not even seeing him do what he's good at. We know he can run at a high level. We know he's one of the most explosive, athletic quarterbacks in all the National Football League. He's not even really running. And then the throwing aspect, let's not even get into that. There's not any improvement that we're seeing whatsoever. At the same time, let me say this real quickly. The people that are writing Justin Fields off 100% and saying that there is no chance that Justin Fields is going to pan out whatsoever, let's chill out a little bit. It is just week 2. Now, they do have a 12-game losing streak, and it's not been pretty. I get all that. But I'm not going to completely write him off yet. Give me a couple more weeks on that. But it does not look pretty. And at this point, it looks like we're going to be heading into the draft this upcoming season, next year. And they'll probably be going after a quarterback if they can get one. And hopefully that one pans out. But the coaching staff, I think they're all in the hot seat that are still there at least now. Justin Fields, I don't know what's going to happen on there. But the Bears are an absolute mess. And we had back just a couple weeks ago before the season started. And I even pointed this out. I said, so many people were saying the Arizona Cardinals could be the worst team we've ever seen in NFL history. And I thought that was ludicrous. I thought that was absolutely wild. I thought it was debatable that they're even the worst team in the NFL this season. And while they are not good at all, do we see what I just mentioned, all this stuff about the Bears right now, and we're just in week 2? It ain't that bad out there in Arizona yet. I should say. The Texans are not looking too swell either. So I don't know what to say about this, but the Bears are an absolute train wreck right now. It is confusing. It blows my mind on what is going on right now. I think that there's going to need to be a lot more adjusting and changing and things that we don't even know could happen because the line is a mess. The quarterback situation, who knows what's going on. The coaching staff situation is a mess. I don't know what's happening. There's going to be a lot of changes that need to unfold out there in Chicago because that team is not looking too good at all. Now, just to go through a quick run through of injury stuff that has happened. Brady Christensen, he's out for the season with a bicep injury. OBJ, ankle injury, should not affect his availability for this upcoming weekend. Avonte Maddox, torn pec surgery. He is going to be out indefinitely, potentially unlikely for the season. Saquon Barkley, he has an ordinary ankle sprain. He'll be about out 3 weeks. Already been ruled out for Thursday night, which was expected, but he will be back in potentially 3 weeks or so. Also, a little side note on that team. Giants come back down 21-0. Should never have been down 21-0 to begin with against the Cardinals. But at least they came back. It is what it is. All right. David Montgomery, thigh bruise. Couple of weeks, he'll be out. Jahmyr Gibbs, we could see him break out now. James Houston also is out 6 to 8 weeks now with a fractured ankle. Big blows to the Detroit Lions. And another one about them. Also, they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson to a torn pec, which will likely cause him to be out for the season as well. Not a good weekend for the Lions. They lose the game, obviously, but they lose a lot of key players as well. Anthony Richardson suffered a concussion. We'll see if he plays this week. But I have to say this real quickly. That game, I'm not going to have a full-on AR hype up yet, but I'm getting pretty close to saying I'm sold on that man. I mean, he didn't play a ton due to the concussion, but what we saw when he stepped foot out there, I'm just saying, Anthony Richardson has a chance to be that franchise quarterback the Colts have been looking for since Andrew Luck. Now, we'll see. I got to give it a couple more weeks before I go on a full-on hype train mode here. But I'm this close to going and being fully sold on AR being the guy for the future of the Indianapolis Colts. He's got a chance to be something very, very special. C.J. Stroud, though, nothing to complain about that performance. 384 yards on 2 TDs. Like what I'm seeing there. Looks like Texans have a chance of finding their guy as well out there. Joe Burrow, aggravated calf injury. We'll see what ends up unfolding in that situation. But he currently will be out with an aggravated calf injury, and we'll see if he plays or not. Deontay Johnson and Budda Baker have both been placed on IR. Elton Jenkins, MCL sprain. He's optimistic about returning this year. Nick Chubb, that's something we touched up on a little bit, but he is going to be out for the season. Serious injury. Multiple ligaments have been torn. And nasty injury that we saw unfold on Monday night. Prayers in that recovery for him. Not pretty. Hopefully he can return. Obviously one of the premier backs. Historic yards per carry. One of the great running backs of this generation. Not pretty injury. Shaq Thompson, fractured fibula. He's out for the season. Minka Fitzpatrick, chest injury. We do not have exactly the information on how severe. I know he went to the hospital. Precautionary, I believe, but we'll see how long he's out. Jamal Williams, he'll miss some time with a hamstring injury. Remember, the Saints already are down Alvin Kamara due to suspension. 2 more weeks without him, but they'll get him back eventually. Braxton Jones, we talked about him with the Bears. Marcus May has been suspended without pay for 3 games for violating the NFL policy on substance abuse. And the other one, Chandler Jones, has been placed on the non-football illness list. This brings some clarity to the situation I talked about a little bit ago. A lot of wild stuff has been going on with the Chandler Jones situation. There's been a few players that had some wild social media stuff. I'll probably touch up on a couple of those other ones tomorrow, but supposedly this is something that maybe the Raiders weren't all at fault for, and Chandler Jones is struggling. And so whatever the case may be, hopefully that can get figured out, and obviously that God's plan and will is done in that situation, because it's not pretty. If it is a mental health issue or something, Chandler Jones needs help, and hopefully he can get that figured out. So the Raiders, for now, for the time being, will remain out when not having Chandler Jones. So that's the situation with injuries in the NFL. As for a little bit of a recap on NFL Week 2, Baltimore goes 27-24 over the Bengals. As I mentioned, I love that Baltimore Ravens squad. They're legit. Chiefs 17-9 over the Jaguars. Chris Jones, 1.5 sacks, 2 QB hits, 1 tackle for a loss, and 1 pass deflection. I already talked about that. I'll tell you, that man's a bad man. That man is special. We saw the difference. Chris Jones, no Chris Jones. Defense completely different. I also said last week, why did I keep them at number 1 in the power rankings when they lost? Oh, yeah, because they have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones out. Well, they're both back. They beat the Jaguars, who was a playoff team most likely this season. Okay. Titans 27-24 over the Chargers. The Chargers are 0-2, and here we are once again. I've always said this Chargers team is interesting. Herbert's talented. But then you have the Brandon Staley thing. You have all these different issues. It's interesting. I don't know. There's something odd out there. Whether that be coaching staff, whether that be Herbert, I don't know. Obviously, Austin Eckler was hurt. I'll give him a little bit of break on that. But the Titans are not that good of a team. They're a well-coached team. Have a great running back. Have a really good, nice receiver in D-Hop. Tannehill's not the best. The line's a work in progress. Defense is subpar. 27-24 over the Chargers. Seahawks 37-31 over the Lions. Geno Smith missed a clutch 328 yards, 2 TDs. Buccaneers, I do want to touch up on them. 27-17 against the Bears. I talked about Justin Fields. I said they're a mess. But let's talk about a guy that we already labeled as a bust. A lot of people did. Now, I already said I'm not going to call him a bust. He did his job. He got the Browns to the playoffs and got them a W and ended their streak. Mad props to Baker Mayfield. I always said that at the end of the day, he did his job. He helped save and turn around the Browns franchise. Did he turn out to be the best player in that draft winner? Probably not, no, but he still did his job. I wouldn't call him the biggest bust. But he goes out there, 27-17 against the Bears, and guess what? Baker's now sitting at 2-0. He's playing at a very high level for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at this point in time, and he threw for 317 yards and a touchdown. Hey, it's early. It's 2 weeks in the season, but Baker Mayfield is looking nice. I'll say that. We'll see how this continues to unfold this season, but Baker looks good. We saw some flashes again out there in LA last year. He's a guy that probably needs to be in their situation, but hey, he's bounced back and he's looking pretty solid. Cowboys 30-10 against the Jets. That Cowboys defense is elite. Now, I will say part of it, like, let's be honest, Zach Wilson, I'm not going to say this was like against the Chiefs, but you had 3 interceptions, 7 pass deflections, 5 tackles for a loss, and 3 sacks. End of the day, that defense has been spectacular in this back-to-back weeks of dominating. They have to imagine that. I would just have to say that is the best defense in all the National Football League. Niners have a nice one as well, but the Cowboys are spectacular. Dolphins 24-17 over the Pats. Once again shows why I believe the Dolphins are a legitimate Super Bowl contender this year. And then the Steelers. 26-22 over the Browns. Deshaun Watson, 3 turnovers. Jerome Ford, 16 carries, 106 yards, 3 receptions, 25 yards, and a TD. Interesting stuff there for the Browns. Obviously, you lose Nick Chubb. Deshaun Watson's not looking too good. I'm not going to completely write Watson off yet. It's still a little bit early in my book, but Deshaun Watson, well, that's obviously something we'll have to see unfold. I'll give him a few more weeks, but not looking too good yet for the Browns. As for the Steelers, they get the W. Najee and Jaylen Warren, it's going to be interesting. Najee's not looking too good. Jaylen Warren looks a little bit better. George Pickens, that looks really good. 4 receptions, 127 yards, and a TD. He's the only guy that really looks like to be balling truly on offense right now. Pickett's subpar. The line's The defense is great, but we'll see what unfolds there with that Steelers team. That leads me, though, to my power rankings. Last week, I gave you guys my power rankings, and I have one switch up in the teams. And this is hard. Let me say this. My power rankings, I got 6 teams that really are the 6. I think there's 6 teams that are just far above everyone else in the NFL right now. So the 6th team is the Philadelphia Eagles. I had to take them out. It hurt me great team, but I don't think there's that much of a gap. I went back and forth many times trying to make these guys. They're right there at number 6, but if I completely understand anybody that goes against me with that, because they're just as good as I could say any of the other teams in front of them. These next 6 teams I think are just far above the pack. With that being said, though, number 5, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, I'm telling you, I like them a lot. Lamar Jackson is balling. Zay Flowers is spectacular. He is elite. I like that Baltimore Ravens team. Number 4, the Dallas Cowboys. I moved them into my top 5. That's showing us the Jets. The defense, spectacular. The offense went out against a really good defense and balled out. I like the Dallas Cowboys. San Francisco 49ers at number 3. I like that squad, just like I said last week. They are balling. They have star power. Brock Purdy is officially showing himself to be that legit quarterback that they were looking for. I like the 49ers. Number 2, the Miami Dolphins. I mentioned the same thing. I had them at number 2 last week. They are balling. I like that squad. Tua, Tyreek, Waddle. You got the squad. The running backs are balling out. I think Mike McDaniel is one heck of a coach. They're at number 2. And at number 1, I'm keeping the Kansas City Chiefs. They get Travis Kelce, Chris Jones back, and they showed why they are the defending champions. I think they have a good chance of repeating once again. So that is my power rankings for the NFL following week 2. All right, so a few more things before we wrap up this show today. And I'm excited to get into a couple of these things because the final thing I want to touch up on is college football. I'm going to make sure that's the last topic we have for today. Yes, it is. Okay. So let's get into college football, right? A little bit behind, I didn't realize that. But first and foremost, how can I not say the whole Mel Tucker situation I talked about last episode? He now has been told that the Michigan State team that they intend to fire him. And then he went back with another statement. We'll see how this situation unfolds, but it's looking more and more like he's not going to be coaching the Spartans ever again. So that's that situation. All right, the AP Top 25, Georgia, 8th SEC team to win 20 straight. Texas 3-0 for the first time since 2012. They're looking nice. Number 3. Washington, I think they need to be higher. And can I say something, Michael Penix Jr.? We're not getting enough talk right now about why Michael Penix Jr. deserves to be in the Heisman conversation. He has the most yards since Davis Webb and Patrick Mahomes, which happened in 2016. He is balling at a high level right now. He is throwing the ball 1,332 yards in the beginning parts of this season so far. Absolutely spectacular. He is showing why he is one of the premier quarterbacks in all of college football right now. And he's not being talked about. And listen, I get there's a lot of great quarterbacks this season, but he came back to college this season and is showing why he is one of the premier players in all of college football. And if we're being honest right now, it's hard to say that he's not the Heisman front runner, or at least one of the high candidates right now. There's no reason to say that Michael Penix Jr. does not deserve the Heisman right now. He is playing at an elite level, and he's showing why he deserves to be in that Heisman conversation, if not being the Heisman favorite this season. I absolutely love me some Michael Penix Jr. He is another guy that I think will be a first-round quarterback taken in this year's NFL draft. He is special, and he deserves more attention, and this Washington Huskies team deserves to be higher up in the rankings as well. Alabama, though, they're out of the top 10. It's the first time since 2015, and the quarterback job has now officially been given over to Milroe. Simpson looked pretty good when he went in there. He did better than the other system was looking like, but Milroe's the quarterback going forward. I think that's the right decision. And there's some other controversy around what all went down in that game. It was an interesting setup, interesting thing, but it's done, and we'll see if Bama can rebound now. Colorado fell 1 spot to number 19, double overtime W over Colorado State, and they were down 11 in the fourth quarter. Primetime is being primetime. When we talk about primetime, we're talking about guys that it brings in the attention and it captivates an entire audience, an entire country. Well, that's what primetime is doing right now. He's got the entire United States of America having their eyes on Colorado Buffaloes, a team that won 1 game last season. 9.3 million viewers, the 5th most watched regular season game in college history. Colorado versus Colorado State, no disrespect, but that was not a game that many people were going to watch last season. That is the definition of prime time. Lil Wayne is walking you out. The Rock is showing up to your game. Offset's sitting on the sidelines. You've got celebrity after celebrity tweeting, talking, and attending those games. The locker room has celebrities everywhere. This is prime time. Now, some might say this is a distraction. And if you allow it to be, of course it can be, but I don't think under prime it's going to be a distraction for the players. He's keeping them all in check, and we're seeing that. If they were not kept in check, they would not be 3-0 right now. Let me make that clear. So yes, it could be a distraction, but having the right coach, which Coach Prime is, is not going to let that become a distraction. They have learned somehow to balance this and become this massive entertainment source while making sure to still maintain productivity and preparing for the games. Now, they got a big game coming up this week against Oregon. They'll be ready, I believe. And this team is spectacular. And obviously, yes, they went to double overtime against Colorado State. Not the best team in the world. But Travis Hunter, the lacerated liver, he'll be out 3 weeks. That is something to keep a note of. Obviously, Henry Blackburn, he's had his whole death threat situation. Hopefully, that's all being figured out. That's absolutely ludicrous to have death threats go towards him. The hit was dirty. The hit was ridiculous. He should have been thrown out of the game. Probably should have even been suspended. However, that's not the point that happened. But death threats should never be coming into the equation. So that needs to chill out immediately. And so this team, yes, they fall one spot. It is what it is. Big game against Oregon. We'll see what happens this weekend. Warren Sapp, though, also has announced that he is joining the staff next season. I love that move for Prime. You're getting more and more NFL superstars to come into this team and teach these guys. He talked about him going out there and just seeing these guys want to soak in everything they possibly could, take everything from him, get the keys to this team, and learn how to become an elite defensive player. And he loved that. And he's going to come be the coach next season for those guys. Absolutely love it. Prime time hiring by Prime himself. Love it. Love that move. Tennessee fell 12 spots after a 29-16 loss to Florida. Tennessee's interesting. Not too high on what's going on out there right now. We always knew this team was going to be a team that had a lot of potential, but that's the word, potential. It's not coming to fruition yet. So we'll see what ends up unfolding for the overall college football season. But this upcoming weekend is huge, probably the biggest weekend so far of the college football season. Countless ranked matchups are going to be going down. It's going to be fun stuff to see what unfolds this weekend. We'll preview some of that probably a little bit more tomorrow during that showing. However, that does wrap up this show today. And with that being said, I do want to get into something because I'd mentioned the verse of the day to start the show off, and absolutely, yes, that was the show of the day. And the verse of the day we talked about in the very beginning. But I want to make sure we get into it a little bit more so here on the end of this. All right, hopefully we got that technical difficulty figured out here once again. All right, anyway, so I mentioned, though, this will be the final part of today's episode. And I mentioned it, and I said the verse of the day to kick off the show, but I didn't have time to get into it fully, which I usually do, and so my apologies on that. But let's get into the verse of the day. I'm going to break it down for you guys real quick. Today's verse of the day is John chapter 8, verse 12. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. For a little bit of context, this is the second of the 7 I am statements that Jesus made. And so he comes down and he says, I am the light. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Okay. What does that mean? Well, when Jesus comes down and says he is the light of the world, Jesus is talking about the fact that he is what brings life into this world. He's going to give us eternal life, and his light will shine through and overcome anything. Now, he's set on that. We know that Jesus got all that. We know he's perfect. We know he's got all that for him. And so that part is saying, okay, he knows he's that. Let him declare that. Let him be known, and let it be known that Jesus is the light of the world. He is perfect. He is holy. He is righteous. He is the Son of God. He is God in flesh. But then we continue. He's not just saying, oh, I am this, but you guys are not. No, he says this, for whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. Well, some might say, well, I see light out there right now. No. When we walk in this world, we are naturally born into sinful flesh, and we will go through trials and tribulations in this world. Do not get that twisted. We know that. And it is very easy because anything that does not glorify God is walking in darkness, and is not glorifying God, is not glorifying something else, and that obviously is not good, right? And so when we walk in darkness, whether we are aware of it or not, that is allowing us to be corrupted by the ways of this world. And we're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody is perfect except for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, which is why he says, for whoever follows me will never walk in darkness. So if we follow Jesus fully and wholeheartedly, we pursue him wholeheartedly, we give everything we can to following him. And when we are in the mindset, the heart, mind, soul, and everything about us is fully following our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, that at that point in time, we will not be walking in darkness because we will have the light of Jesus shining in and through us, working in and through us, and it is something spectacular. And the fact of the matter is that light is the light of life. He says then the final part of that, but we'll have the light of life. A lot of us go through trials and tribulations. A lot of us go through ups and downs in life. A lot of us are going to be at low points. Maybe you're at that right now. And sometimes we'll be at high points. Do not get that twisted as well. I know it could be highs and lows of life, obviously. But the light of life that is Jesus bread, that is Jesus given by the blood shed on the cross, is life that is not comparable to anything else. That light is the stronghold that keeps us going through our journeys and our walks with Jesus. That light allows us to realize an overall process that when we get down into those moments of despair, of sadness, of sorrow, that light of Jesus that we can rely upon, that he's got us, we don't have to fear about nothing else. Because we will have the light of life. We can count on that, knowing that, listen, while there are trials and tribulations right now, where we might be down in this and at this point in time, that when that day does come and Jesus calls up to be with him, we get eternal life. We get to live with him, and in that can bring true joy and happiness and trusted in him. But the beautiful thing is that we don't just have to wait until heaven to experience that life with Jesus. We can experience it here on earth by letting the Holy Spirit work in and through us, by living for the glory of Jesus, by living with him and letting him lead our lives. So, folks, that is the verse of the day today. John chapter 8, verse 12. When Jesus spoke again to the people, he said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And so that, as I mentioned, is today's verse of the day. I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. For Jayden for coming on the show today. It was a blessing to have him come on. It was a blessing to have everyone that tuned in live, that tunes in after this. I appreciate everyone that tuned in today. But with that being said, that concludes today's Wednesday, the 20th episode. I appreciate you guys all for tuning in today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I mentioned last week, and this time it should be for real. Hopefully, we'll have a late show tomorrow. It'll be running from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll have a special guest who I will announce tomorrow as long as it all goes as planned, and I think it's going to be a great interview. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. God bless you guys all. SchuZ out, and God bless you guys all. All right. Peace out. God bless.